Hey, if you're wondering what the second semester in NP school looks like, hang on. I'm halfway through and I'm going to tell you all about it. Hi, my name's Rick. I'm a registered nurse in the emergency department. I'm also a psychiatric nurse practitioner student going through right now my second semester. Hey, I'm at the midway point of my second semester, and I thought I might take a few minutes to reflect on what I'm feeling, kind of what's happened in the second semester, what my status is, where I'm at right now. So if you're ever thinking about it, this might be helpful to you to get prepared for it. So in the second semester, I'm taking two classes. One is a health policy class, and the other one is an advanced pharmacology class. Now, if you know anything about nurse practitioner school, you know that really the first year, or at least the first several semesters, are all foundational semesters, which means that you're going through the same material that any other nurse practitioner is, regardless of the specialty that you're going to go into. So in my school, we have three specialties for nurse practitioners: family nurse practitioner, education, and psychiatric nurse practitioner, the one that I'm in right now. So all of us are going through, advanced pathophysiologies, advanced pharmacology, and the next semester, advanced assessment. And it's not until after that we begin to branch out into more of our specialty. So I'm here halfway through my second semester, so let me tell you a little bit about kind of where things are and my thoughts about this and what's coming up next for me before I move on to the other semester. And let me talk about our health policy class first. That's probably the easiest one for me to talk about. And this is a class that you're probably going to encounter at some point in your nurse practitioner studies and progress. So let me jump in and let me show you what the schedule looks like for that class and kind of what we've been through and what's coming up.
The schedule for my health policy class. Of course, the actual title is Health Policy with an emphasis on prevention and population health. So this kind of gives you a breakdown. Don't pay any attention to the colors. This is something that I was trying to do earlier on, but it doesn't mean anything. But this kind of gives you an idea of what topics are covered in this class. It's an 8-module class over an entire semester. And we're halfway through this class right now. So I've done everything, from here on up, and I've got all of this here to go. And the thing about this class is there is a lot of reading and a lot of writing. And if you're going to go to nurse practitioner school, I don't care whether you're going to a traditional school on a campus or you're doing it all in one of the proprietary schools online or whatever it is, but you are going to definitely have to do a lot of writing. And it's a very, very special form of writing. It's a research-oriented writing and has to be in a format. You have to cite all of your references, on and on. I'm not going to get deep into that. If you went through your BSN program, then you know what I'm talking about. So I still have about 4 more topics to go. Now in this class, it's so focused on reading, so focused on writing. And when I say writing, we have a couple of papers we had to do, and we had a weekly, almost weekly, discussion points, which means you've got to take a topic, you've got to write like a mini term paper. It's usually 750 to 1,000 words with appropriate citations. You post that in the portal. People comment on your post, and you have to comment on 3 other posts. So almost every day you're writing, at least spending an hour or so writing for this. This particular class does not have any exams in it. This shows you kind of the due dates here. Again, don't pay any attention to these colors. I was kind of fooling around with something, and kind of gives you criteria around discussion posts. We've had a Zoom conference with the entire class. Actually, there are 3 of them. There's one you're required to be in. The other ones are optional. And then we have this advocacy project here where essentially you pick a particular health policy issue that you want to advocate for. You've got to explain why. You have to research that advocacy issue, and then at the end of the class you have to have write a letter that is going to go to, or you don't have to send it, but it's going to go to a representative in Congress about why you're supporting and advocating for this thing. So, I mean, it's not a difficult class, but it does take a lot of time, and it takes time away from the other class I'm going to talk about, which is advanced pharmacology. And here's what's nice about our professor for this class. The professor was very open and said, look, I know most of you in this class are taking a very difficult advanced pharmacology. This is something you have to know and you have to learn, and I agree with that. To be an effective nurse practitioner dealing with patients, you have to understand how policy works. You have to understand how the insurance marketplace works. You have to understand how that impacts your patients and the kind of treatment that you might prescribe to them. But she said, I know this is you have another tough class. We're not making this so onerous. We're trying to do this in a way that you will learn the information, but not pile a lot of information on top of you. So I was very appreciative of that.
So that's what health policy looks like. And I've enjoyed the class, as I said earlier, and it's been interesting to see. Now, my background before I got into nursing was in healthcare finance, so some of it was a review for me, but still understanding how policy is made and how that impacts both private and public health has been very helpful. So now let's talk about the big one. Let's talk about advanced pharmacology. I just finished a couple days ago doing my midterm exam for advanced pharmacology, and didn't get as good a grade as I was hoping for, given that I had taken an entire week off and studied for it. But it's tough, and I'm going to show you the schedule and what we covered here in just a moment. But it's a tough class, toughest class I've had in all of nursing school so far. And not that the material is so difficult to comprehend. It's more that there's so much of it that you have to remember. It's just very, very hard to really fully know what you need to know. And there's always a balance too, balance between trying to understand everything and getting to the point where you've got enough knowledge to get past the test. Let's jump in and let me take a look. Let me show you a little bit about what the schedule has been up to this point in advanced pharmacology and what's coming up next.
Okay, so now here's the big one for this semester. This is my course calendar for my advanced pharmacology class. It's about 9 pages long, this calendar is. But to the credit of our professor, she's very detailed about this and very on top of making sure everybody is aware of what's required and what needs to be done. So, we got started with some basic principles of pharmacology, and we had a lot of stuff on that, excuse me, before we jumped into actual drugs. And in this, in the book I showed you, it's pretty much divided up according to pathophysiology and what drugs address those. See here, I did a video about this prescription quiz. I did a prescription quiz. I think we have 6 or 7 throughout the class. And if you're not sure what that is, go watch that video I did on that one. So we have gotten through module 2 here, which is medications for HENT and skin disorders. We've gotten through respiratory, cardiovascular, and this is where I am right now. So halfway through, we did our midterm exam. I was really sweating that one, but I ended up getting a B on that. Thank gosh for my Picmonic study schedule and the spaced repetition that I get through that. It was a lifesaver on this exam, so I'm so glad that I had that available to me. And so now where I am here midway through the second semester is we've started on immune disorders, hematology, and endocrine disorders. This is real heavy in diabetes. We just finished a couple days ago. Just finished doing prescription quiz 4. I'm waiting for my results on that, so I haven't got that yet. We're also covering medications for neurologic and mental health disorders. So usually what this class does is we'll work on 2 modules at a time, 5 and 6, and then we'll have a content exam, which is an open book exam that we get to use our resources. That is not as easy as it sounds. It is very tough. You get an hour and a half, 60 or so questions. I usually need every single minute of that hour and a half to get it done. So halfway through this class, spent an entire week studying for that midterm. And let me tell you, I was very disappointed, frankly, in my performance on that midterm. And I contacted the professor, and she was kind enough to set up a Zoom call with me. We actually spent about an hour on that Zoom call going over different questions, talking about how I studied for them, my thought process. It was so helpful. So I hope if you're in PMHNP school or NP school, or if you're thinking about going, that you'll have a professor, or all your professors are very open about talking to you and going through these types of things. So I got this content exam coming up here in about 2 weeks or so, I think it is. And I have another Picmonic study schedule set up for that. So I've been doing that, an hour or 2 a day. And that helps me just stay on top of of everything in here as well. So just want to give you an idea what that looks like. I've got 1 open book test left. And I've got the final exam coming up, which is a comprehensive exam. Just to give you an idea, I mentioned earlier that the material isn't that intellectually difficult. I mean, I have no trouble understanding, what these drugs do. I have no trouble understanding why you would use drugs for, different neurological or mental health conditions, or for cardiovascular disorders and so forth. I don't have any trouble doing that, but here's what I want you to look at. The midterm covered all of these chapters, starting here at chapter 1, going all the way down here. All of these chapters. There were more than 30 chapters covered in the midterm exam. So it's not that it was so difficult to understand. Part of it was not knowing what I needed to know, or not really clear on what I needed to know, and just memorizing and remembering all the different things, because all 30 chapters, you could be tested on almost anything out of those chapters.
So as you can see, it is a lot of material that has to be covered in that class, and it's interesting material. It's not something I don't understand. There's just so much of it that you have to know and you have to learn, and it's important. I mean, the stakes are so much higher as an advanced practice nurse. Especially when it comes to medications, you've got to know what you're doing. You have to understand how it works. You have to understand the interactions, allergy. I mean, all of that. Yes, that's important as a nurse too, because you're that last line of safety between the prescriber and the patient. But when you're prescribing, you've really got to know your stuff. And I have spent a lot of time trying to understand as much of it as I can. Make sure here. So what am I going to do going forward? Well, right after I took that advanced pharmacology midterm, I jumped in the car and drove to Florida. I had to take a little bit of a break. My family I took that test on a Tuesday. My family had been down there since Friday. I stayed behind to study, to take the test here. I know I could have done it down there, but it's the consequences of your grades in nurse practitioner school are serious, and I wanted to just stay in my environment, stay focused on what I know I needed to do, and move forward like that. So I got in the car, took 4 days away. I didn't take 4 days off because you can't take time off in nurse practitioner school. Hey, our school had a spring break, but that was just a week where professors weren't around. Even though I was in Florida, I probably spent 6 hours a day while I was there in the Airbnb house studying for the next modules. So it just really never stops. You just go until the end of the semester, and then you get a little break between the semesters. So what am I going to do differently now? Well, I'm going to be much more diligent in studying, really stay focused on the material, asking more questions of my professor about what's the important things to learn. She is going to provide more comprehensive study guides, I understand. I'm going to do a better job of reading things more than once. I am going to do, stay all over the PMHNP study schedules that the program creates for me. I am just going to be, as I mentioned maybe in a couple videos ago about prioritizing things a little bit better, stay on top of it. My goal for every class is to get an A. And right now, I'm pretty solid on track for a B in advanced pharmacology. Got an A hands down in the health policy class. I can still catch up and get a in advanced pharmacology, but it's going to take a little more time, just really time put in, nose in the book, that type of thing, to make it forward. Hey, if this was helpful to you, then please put a comment below and let me know. If you've got any questions about anything that I've talked about, then put that in the comments. I do answer every one of them. The other thing is, please consider subscribing to the channel. It helps get this information out to other students that might be watching on YouTube. Certainly helps me get more exposure so that this information can get out. Please like this video if you will. Click the button. That'll let you know anytime I post another one. I do it about once a week, so it won't be inundating you or anything like that. And if you have questions, always put those in the comments. I do respond to every one of them. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you if you're a subscriber. It really means a lot to me because there's a lot of effort that goes into putting these together, but that really means a lot to me, and I thank you for doing it, and I thank you for sticking around and watching this whole video. So we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.